Hey everyone, welcome to Weekly Dharma Gathering. My name is Sheena. Tonight's session, Rest and Be Natural, will be led by Rashid Hughes. Rashid will lead us through a guided meditation, a Dharma talk, and we'll close with a Q&A session. Tonight's session will be recorded, so if you prefer not to be seen, please turn off your camera. Please also note that you will be recorded when asking a question. If it's more comfortable, you can also pop your questions into the chat. If you have a question during the guided instruction or during the talk, again, you can pop it in the chat or just raise your hand and I'll unmute you, or you can unmute yourself. The recording of tonight's gathering can be accessed within 48 hours via your purchased products or your Vimeo Weekly Dharma Gathering account. You will receive an email notification once the video is posted. Rashid Hughes is a native of Richmond, Virginia. He is a proud graduate of Howard University Department of Music and the Howard University School of Divinity. Rashid is a certified mindfulness and yoga teacher and a restorative justice specialist in Washington, D.C. He is also an affiliate teacher of the Insight Meditation Community of Washington, D.C. In 2019, Rashid co-founded the Heart Refuge Mindfulness Community, a mindfulness community in Washington, D.C. that is dedicated to inspiring Black, Indigenous, and people of color to live with love and courage. Rashid's devotion to truth and compassion leads him to teach faith-based and non-religious audiences, including secular mindfulness communities, Buddhist sanghas, and the Black Church. The teachings of James Baldwin, Toni Morrison, and the music of Miles Davis and John Coltrane are deep sources of inspiration and hope for Rashid. He's devoted to helping all people achieve fulfillment through radical honesty and self-compassion. Rashid, thank you so much for being here to teach us tonight.
Oh, yeah, peace everyone. Thank you for having me, Weekly Dharma Gathering. This is going to be my second time being able to have the privilege of being in community with this wonderful community. So this evening, we'll start off with just a grounding practice to just help us to connect to the earth, into our bodies, into our hearts. And then I'll just share a little bit of reflection around something that's really become interesting to me, and the experience of being rested while we do our work and whatever the work might be, and how rest is connected to our inherent wisdom. So if you like, just find a posture for your body that feels comfortable for you. And the practice will be 20 minutes. And I'll start off by inviting the bell, 3 sounds of the bell. Okay, so just beginning by finding a posture that feels comfortable for you. Always starting off by dropping the inquiry into the body. Just, is the posture that my body is in, is this posture okay for me right now? So just, just sensing into that inquiry. Is this posture okay? I encourage folks to lie down if you like, stand if you like, move if you like, and feel free to change postures throughout the practice if you need to as well. So once you found that posture, just taking a moment first to just rest for a few moments, just allowing yourself to just arrive. So just rest. You don't have to focus your attention. You don't have to concentrate on anything right now. Just really allowing your body to, allowing your attention to connect with the feeling of pausing. And just being aware of whatever you notice. So maybe you notice sounds, or maybe you notice sensations in your bodies or smells, but not really fixating on any of your experience, just being aware and open, just knowing whatever is arising as it arises. And now gently directing your attention to the earth, to the place in which your body is connected to the earth. So maybe that's through where your hips are connected to the chair if you're sitting, or connected to the floor if you're sitting on the floor or lying down. Maybe if you're lying down, it's feeling the sensations associated with your back touching whatever you're lying on. If you're standing, maybe it's just your feet. But inviting an awareness of the earth element to be a part of your experience. And just noticing what sensations are most prevalent in your experience and where your body is connecting to the earth. So maybe it's tingling sensations, or sensations that create a sense of stability or support. Just really allowing this earth quality to be where you rest your attention for a few moments. And maybe offer some gratitude for the earth as well. And while you remain connected to the experience of being held and supported by the earth below you, the invitation is to kind of just relax your attention into a more wide awareness of the body. Just checking in with the body and just inviting the body to just rest and be natural. Doesn't mean that the body has to remain completely still, but it's just an invitation for the body to be as it needs to be. and allowing the breath to also be as natural as possible. So just flowing in whatever rhythm or cadence your breathing pattern is in right now, just allowing that to be there. You don't have to focus on it or concentrate on it, but just being aware of the feeling of the earth, the felt sense of the body, and the natural rhythm of the breath flowing. Just noticing all of this happening in your experience. And then we have awareness. Awareness is knowing the felt sense of our bodies being connected to the earth. Awareness knows that. Awareness knows, witnesses the breath flowing. And awareness witnesses thoughts coming and going if they may appear. So just resting our minds in a sense of natural openness. Not concentrating or pushing away any part of your experience, but just trusting that the earth is holding, trusting that the breath is flowing, and allowing the mind to just relax and to be open to the changing nature of our experience in the moment. And you may have to touch back into the body if your mind becomes distracted or carried away, and that's okay. And then just release any attachment, just relaxing the attention. And awareness is here. It doesn't have to be cultivated or forced. Awareness holds and witnesses all of our experience. So just resting in this knowing. And while remaining in this relaxed, resting posture, begin to bring to mind just something that you're grateful for. Something, someone, something that you can connect to, someone that you can connect to. It can be an animal, a quote, but something that evokes a sense of gratitude. And just bring that to your mind. And imagine that in the form of a white light, that in your heart center, your sense of gratitude begins to form and rest in your heart space. And with every in breath, every inhale, you're imagining that you're nurturing this gratitude in your heart space. You're breathing into that gratitude in your heart center. And with every exhale, you just imagine that this gratitude just begins to spread just a little bit in the heart space. So just sitting with that for a few moments, breathing in, breathing into the gratitude in your heart space. And with every exhale, imagining that your heart relaxes and opens from the gratitude. And now we're going to direct our gratitude to different parts of our bodies. And just being, careful as we move throughout the body. If there's a body part that we move to that causes a sense of pain or trauma, feel free to skip that body part and place your attention on another part of the body. Or if the body is just too sensitive for you, feel free to rest in sound, just listening to sounds or resting on your breath. But we're just now imagining that the light at our heart center is moving down towards our feet. And we imagine that our feet are absorbing the energy of this gratitude. So we greet our feet, we just pay attention to our feet with this gratitude shining there. And we imagine that the gratitude sinks into our feet, releasing any tension and relaxing our feet. And just imagine that with every exhale, you're just releasing tension into the earth, and the earth is holding it and caring for it for you. And on your next exhalation, imagine that this light of gratitude is moving up the bodies to our knees. And we greet our knees with a sense of gratitude. And we allow the light of gratitude, the energy of gratitude to soak into our knees, touching, soothing any tension that might be there. With every exhale, you're imagining that the tension in your knees are draining down through your thigh, your calves, your shins, your ankles, into your feet, and being completely released back into the earth. So just spending a few moments with that. And on your next exhalation, letting go of the area of your knees and just bringing your attention, the energy of gratitude, up to your hips. and greeting your hips with the energy of gratitude, and allowing this energy of gratitude to settle into your hip area, soothing any tension, loosening up any tension. And on every exhale, you're imagining that this tension is releasing itself all the way through the thighs, carrying out any tension that's in the thighs, knees, calves, shins, ankles, feet, and all of the lower body from our hips down. The tension is releasing into the earth with every exhale. So just spend a few moments with that. Okay, and then on your next exhalation, shifting your attention up the body and to our back area. And maybe just kind of scanning through the back, just starting with the lower back, bringing the energy of gratitude to the lower back for a few moments, and then the mid back, and then upper back. And allowing this energy, this light of gratitude to soothe the back, inviting the back to relax. You don't have to watch your shoulders. You don't have to watch over your back in this moment. So you're imagining that this gratitude is soothing into the back and releasing any tension that's in the back. And the tension is draining all the way from the top of the back to the lower part of the spine, through the hips, carrying any leftover tension in the hips, thighs, knees, calves, shins, ankles, heels, feet, toes, and releasing all the way into the earth with every exhalation. So just working with that on your own for a few moments. Okay, and on your next exhalation, shifting your attention up the body to your shoulders and your neck area. Bringing this gratitude to the shoulders and your neck. Allowing this energy of gratitude to sink into the shoulders, the bones, the neck, soothing any tension and releasing all the tension from the neck and the shoulders on every exhale, through the arms, through the hands, through the back, through the chest, through the stomach, just relaxing your entire body from neck down, releasing any tension, and imagining that that tension is releasing out of your feet into the earth. So just doing this for a few times, a few moments. And on your next exhalation, shifting your attention to your head and your face. So bringing this gratitude up into your forehead, relaxing the eyes, nose, jaws, chins, tongues. And then just imagining that this gratitude, this energy of gratitude is allowing the face and the head, the neck, the shoulders, arms, chest, back, hips, thighs, all the way down, the entire body begins to just melt and dissolve release all of the tension into the earth. Okay, and now just for the last few moments of the practice, allowing your attention to relax, to rest in a sense of the whole body, and just seeing if it's possible to, with every inhalation, you touch the body with your attention, and with every exhalation, you invite the body to relax, and you invite the earth to hold you. I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside, down by the riverside, down by the riverside. I'm gonna lay down my burdens down by the riverside, down by the riverside. Well, thank you for your practice and just taking a few moments to just inviting some gentle movement to the body, maybe stretching a little bit, maybe taking a sip of water. Okay, thank you all for your practice. So feel free to turn your camera back on if you like. Um, you don't have to. So yeah, so I'll just share a little bit about rest for a few moments. You know, it's rest has become something that's been arising a lot in my practice recently, and it's really emerged out of the reflection of, you know, how do I remain well and remain engaged in spiritual activism or disrupting, you know, systems of violence or just disrupting unhealthy patterns within my own mind and heart that I may be experiencing, and holding all of the, you know, the intense energy that is in our society right now, whether through political through the political arena or through the violence that's we're continuously witnessed to be directed towards Black bodies. How do I remain well while remaining engaged and not disconnecting from my own heart and not disconnecting from the reality of the world? And what's been arising for me is rest. And when I say rest, I'm talking about, and it's more of an invitation to remember that I have to consciously exercise agency over my body and how I use my energy. So I've been reflecting on how am I using my body in this moment, and how am I using my energy in my everyday life? And is that supporting my well-being or not? And this is an important reflection for me because, I'm beginning to see that, I have to begin to see my body as something sacred. I have to begin to see how I use my energy as a privilege and a sacred act. And when I begin to actually view my body and the use and how I use my energy as a sacred spiritual proclamation, my body and my energy become gateways for me to access liberation, because I'm actually exercising choice and agency in those moments, right? So rest for me is involving, it's very active. It's remaining an active participant in my destiny, in my everyday life, and how I'm using my body and energy and how I'm showing up in the world. Right? So it's something that's very active and engaged. It's not a passive, dismissive or disengaged way of being in the world, but it's really stepping out of the energy of obligation and reactivity to the chaos of the world, the suffering of the world, or even just stepping out of the obligations of our spiritual traditions, how we were raised in our religious traditions, stepping out of the energy of the dominant culture, right? And this stepping out is really more of a relaxing back into the wisdom of our bodies, relaxing back into the wisdom of our hearts. So this is not, I've done a few just talks on Instagram and Facebook about rest, and sometimes I'm getting the impression that people think I'm talking about like laying on the couch, and that's good. That's good. I support it. I think it's really important for us to actually take time to actually lay on the couch and to, find pleasure in our lives. I think that's really important. But the rest that I'm referring to is less of a physical rest and more of a waking up to how we're showing up in the world, in our relationships, in our everyday lives. So it's more so of an opening to live from a place of choice and opportunity, where there's an opportunity for us to say, in this moment, I will not, or in this moment, this is okay for me to step into. Well, one reflection that I always hold is to myself is, if I'm not able to do the emotional labor that's needed for me to remain well during the activity that I'm engaging in, then I need to really, really reflect on, will I be able to remain rested doing this, right? So if there's a task at hand, or if there's an opportunity, or whatever the call might be, or the impulse might be, I have to drop the inquiry in. Can I handle the emotional labor that I might have to do for others, stepping into that experience, and that I'm going to have to do for myself in order to remain well? So it's a constant relaxing back into the signals of the body, and it requires us to be willing to come face to face with our conditioning, right? So that's why I'd say it's very active. It's not a way of disengaging from reality. When I talk about rest, it's not disengaging, but it's an opening up to becoming more sensitive to what's true for us in our experience. And one thing that I had to really look at for myself is what rest looks like in relationship to meditation practice and meditation teachings, and how that's supposed to, the forms and the structures of that. Because for me, when I was first introduced to meditation practice, I was taught that you sit and you don't move, and you still your mind, and that's not knocking that. And when there's no encouragement to also exercise agency over your body in the moment while you're engaging in that spiritual practice, what can happen is we can find ourselves conforming to rules and regulations rather than really inquiring into what's best for our bodies in the moment. So just finding this rest, this openness, is not something that we just find when we practice alone, or we practice when we access when we practice with groups, but this rest has to be something that we remember is available as we remain engaged in social beings. So rest is not the opposite of inactivity or not doing anything. It's more so about an unconditioned way of being in the world while we fulfill our roles, responsibilities, and duties. And on a more just a spiritual way of communicating that, I like to just call it just resting in unconditioned awareness, relaxing into that space that we often drop into when we do our spiritual meditation practices. This sense of expansiveness, this sense of ease, this sense of freedom from obligation and roles. We begin to rest into this sense of naturalness and nakedness, right? When everything begins to settle, we become naked and we become available. And what I'm beginning to explore is how do we bring this into the work that we do? So it's not like it's a side thing that we do once we've done our work day, right? It's not something we look forward to. We only look forward to, because I think it's great to be able to look forward to your practice, but it's not a state of mind where it starts and it stops. I'm referring to this natural way of being that's inherent to our minds. And the formal practicing helps us to remember that and recognize that. And the more we can do it formally on our own, then once we step out into the world, we carry that with us and that becomes the foundation from which we do all of our work. So I'll just share a story before we close and before we open it up for questions. There's a story that I learned maybe 6 or 7 years ago of a spiritual teacher who came to DC, and the hosting community was, of course, really excited to have this teacher, and they assigned an attendant to the teacher. Somebody to like welcome him, greet them, show them around, all of that. And when the visiting teacher arrived, the attendee, was there with the teacher and, took care of him and watched over him and greeted him and all of those things. And after a while, the teacher kind of noticed that, there was a lot of efforting happening on behalf from the place of the attendee to the teacher, because the attendee really, had a lot of reverence for him and really admired him. But the teacher noticed that it was a lot of extra stuff happening too. And basically what the teacher told the attendee was that you don't have to do that. In other words, you can rest. You don't have to talk spiritual around me. You don't have to smile the whole time. You don't have to pop up every time I pop up. You don't have to, do all of the ways in which we sometimes step into these roles and these ways of being that block our sense of honesty and being and just being, right? Just being natural. And that story has always stuck with me because, we all access and occupy different roles on a daily basis. And it's easy for us to kind of get caught up in the role and remember the beingness under the role. So what I'm simply inviting us to do is to see what it's like to create moments where we're able to relax into feeling what's under the roles that we're playing, whether it's mother, partner, sister, brother, teacher, educator, organizer. Create moments where while we're occupying those roles, we don't lose connection to the sense of rest, this open awareness, this sense of presence that's always with us. Yeah, so I think that's where I'll stop this evening. Maybe we can open it up for questions, answers.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone has any questions or any comments, please feel free to unmute yourself and share, or you can also type it into the chat. I can start. What made you really start to focus on this idea of rest? Like, was there a specific moment that just kind of led you here, or how did it come about?
Yeah, when I saw the video of George Floyd being murdered, that was a moment where I realized that, in order for us to really survive in this time and remain well, mentally and emotionally in our hearts, that we're going to have to figure out a way to be in all of this and still remain okay. For me, I immediately began to really go deeper into my ancestor practices, because ancestor practices, it allows me to kind of like lay the burden, to share the burden. And I'm able to feel a little more connected and supported.
I appreciate it. Peace, Rashid. I appreciated your sharing. I know as a practitioner, meditator, Buddhist, self-identifying Buddhist, and activist, I find myself really torn and always at the crossroads of not, yeah, like there are times when it's just like, do I do this? Like as in practice in a formal sitting kind of way, or do this activist event. I mean, all of it is right now from my home on, virtually in many ways, because of the pandemic and underlying conditions. But then here, when I read the description for the talk today, your Dharma talk, and it was just for me right on time in terms of just viewing, not seeing rest as seeing rest as a form of action as opposed to being passive, a form of care, and seeing it as radical. So I really appreciate it, your insights.
Thank you. It's great seeing you too.
Rashid.
Peace, Brian.
I guess, what is your, I'm sorry, my words escape me.
All good.
Yeah. Come back to me in just a minute. I'll think of it. Yes, I thought of it. So, in terms of rest, would that be synonymous with the theory of radical okayness?
You would have to describe what radical okayness is. Well,
as I'm sitting here in this chair, there might be a million things going on in my life, bills, whatever, what have you, but this chair is supporting me, the earth is supporting me, and I have faith that the earth is going to, sort of like blind trust that the earth is supporting me. And it's just like a baseline, I guess you could say, of awareness.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah, it's right on. It's really, focusing on remembering that baseline. Like, the baseline is always there. The challenge is, as we move throughout the world, oftentimes our energy becomes distracted and we forget the baseline. So for me, this practice of rest is about creating moments where I can remember to touch the baseline while I'm doing the activity and doing the work, creating those small moments. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to share a comment in the chat from Miriam. And she says, thank you for the reminder that spiritual practice in life is actually natural underneath. I needed that reminder.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your sharing, Miriam.
I'll add one more question. What would you say to someone who has been under the, not dogma, but under religion, so to speak, and the law, so to speak? I think we had similar upbringings, in terms of finding freedom and identity outside of that constant pushing and striving for perfection or betterment, because I found that it was frustrating for myself that I was never meeting the mark. Mm-hmm. Like, mark was getting further and further away. Although my friends would tell me, but you're doing this and this is great, you're doing that, I would never be content with what I was accomplishing. or maybe it wasn't, maybe I didn't take time to celebrate, but I feel like, yeah, religion sort of perpetuated that for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, now, I mean, I'm with you on that too. But the thing is, like, it's not just religion. It's it's more so of it can be, you know, anything can become um, a conditioned way of being in the world when we aren't really touching into our own hearts and checking in with our hearts and really connecting to what's true for us, right? That's why I was saying, you know, rest isn't. It's important that I always clarify that rest isn't something that you do once you stop doing what you've been doing, because that creates the same pattern that I'm reaching to what's not here, as if rest is separate from um, my being, right? It's something that I'm still striving for. Even the word cultivating rest can create this illusion that I have to create something that's not inherently a part of who I am, right? So it's, you know, anything can become, you know, a form of bondage, you know?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments?
And going back to your question, Brian, I would say, like, for me, you know, just as I've grown in my own spiritual practice, you know, meditate. I got to a point where I realized how I was approaching my meditation practice. I really had no freedom in it, you know, because when I didn't, because I would sit through pain in my body because I was taught that that's how you're supposed to meditate. You know, instead of lying down like I do now, like most of my practice, I just lay on the floor now. But for me, that's an act of rest, of active creating exercise and agency over my body, and listening and honoring what my body is saying. You know, but for me, when I first started meditation practice, you know, this was how many hours a day I should meditate, no matter what. And when I didn't do it, then I felt like shit. And you know, but I still did it for many years until, you know, I was around teachers who gave us the invitation to really listen to your own body, you know. So yeah.
That's profound. Thank you.
Mm.
Thank you so much, Rashid. Really appreciate you being here tonight and for your beautiful talk on rest. And I want to thank everyone who's here for joining us tonight as well. And just to remind you that we have our next weekly Dharma gathering scheduled for September 23rd. And it's a Dharma talk by Ashley Dinges entitled Warriorship Within Chaos. I will put the link in the chat if you are interested in checking it out. I also want to give you a brief reminder that you can become a subscriber of Weekly Dharma Gathering if you're not already. Right now, we have a 7-day trial that you can find on our website. And in the meantime, please be sure to spread the word about us to your friends and family, your colleagues. And you can join us on social media at Weekly Dharma on Instagram, and we're at Weekly Dharma Gathering on Facebook. Again, thank you all so much for joining us tonight. Beautiful talk.
Thank you all. Peace to you.
Thank you.